And we are live. I'm so happy to have the team of Drag Her! Exclamation point. I was told I have to have the exclamation point at the end of Drag Her when I do this. It's a requirement. But I just want everyone, if you could, just please go around, introduce yourselves and what your job at Drag Her is.
All right. Hi, I'm Ian. I'm the producer for Drag Her. Ready to go on down the line?
Sure.
I'm Jessica. I am the narrative designer and sometimes motion capture diva at Fighting Chance Games.
I'm Matt. I am the technical lead and technical designer of the game.
I am Josie, and I am the art director and overall barely human garbage person.
I don't think you're a garbage person. Do you like that?
Well-
Do you like saying you're the title of a garbage person?
He does.
It's my maiden name.
It's your.
Yeah, my biblical name.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so the way I want to start this off is kind of silly. I just want you're all working on a fighting game, right? So I'm assuming you all have some history with them. So I'm just gonna ask you once again to go around the table. Can you just tell us or the audience what your favorite fighting game is? Not including Drag Her.
Not including
Point.
Drag Her. Yeah. Get out of here. No. All right. So I think. God, this is like Sophie's choice. I'm gonna have to go with a PS2 classic, One Piece Grand Battle. It's a sort of Power Stone type fighting game. It's very, very stupid.
If you
I
gave me
enjoyed it a
like
lot.
30 guesses, that wouldn't have been one of them. So
No,
I'm happy
not
that
at
was
all.
the choice.
Yeah, it's the weirdest choice of all my favorites.
Okay. So I'm assuming you're a One Piece fan as well.
Oddly enough, no.
What?
I know.
How does
the
that even
game
make
is just that
sense?
good.
Never even seen the show. Never heard of it.
I'm like, I don't have time for 800 episodes of an anime. No thanks.
Wait till you watch Naruto.
Oh, God.
That's another one I haven't watched. All right, let's so Naruto, One Piece. Wasn't expecting that. Jess, how about you?
My favorite since the dawn of video games. I am a Mortal Kombat queen.
Yay.
I love Mortal Kombat. It is my religion. My entire belief structure is founded on Scorpion and Katana and Jade and Sindel, who is an icon in her own right of drag rights.
Mhm.
So if you ever want to talk Mortal Kombat with anybody, I am the person to do that with.
I may pick you up on that one because I'm a huge
Oh, yeah.
NetherRealm Studio person. I can talk
Uh.
MK all day.
Yes, big same.
Yeah. All right.
Never heard of that one.
You never heard of that one?
No, as in Mortal Kombat? I'm gonna have to Google it.
Oh God.
All right, Matt. How about you?
My favorite is Murfight because I also work on that.
Label.
No, it's a hard one because obviously I'm a big fan of the genre in general, so I'm always just like, well, what subgenre are we talking about? So I kind of say it's almost a tie between Soul Calibur 2 and Street Fighter EX, if we're talking 3D versus 2D. I would say those are my top two.
Ooh, I like both those choices. And how about you, Josie?
I just got a notification for $100 on Venmo, so I'm gonna say Murfight as well. Um, no, I'm split between. I'm gonna say the classic Street Fighter because it was my first form of drag, being Chung Li, with two G's. But then Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers is my favorite because it's the first time I was able to win at a fighting game compared to just being beat up in the corner by my brother for too many years.
Okay.
So for me, it's Smash, just because of the crazy chaoticness. My ADD is just soothed by too many things going on at once, and everyone being overwhelmed.
I feel a lot of people start with Smash and move their way to other fighting games. I think that, excuse me, I was part of that generation myself. I was a huge Melee person, then I moved into being obsessed with the rest of them. So Smash is definitely a big popular one.
For sure.
So all of you work on Drag Her. You're talking about fighting games. You're mentioning what you do on the team. But I guess can one of you explain to me what Drag Her is?
Not it.
Not it.
Guess is the best.
I said not it.
Too bad.
True.
You should have spoken up.
I will say, Drag Her is a 2D hand-drawn, fast, frenetic fighting game that we hope brings together the super cool, dynamic fun of a fighting game and the super stupid silliness of drag campery and culture.
That was said beautifully.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're all working on this. Where did this idea originally come from? Was this like one person's idea? Was it you all came together and decided to work on it? Like, how did the very beginning origin of this get to now?
We woke up barbecue sauce on our what? Ian, you can go.
Oh God. No,
I want to hear that story too, but
No.
but the drag her first.
Yeah, that's a curious. You know what? I don't remember fully. I'll need your help on this, Josie. But I remember that like we came together, Josie and I originally, and I just sort of there's a lot of really untapped talent in the world, and so I was like, hey, I've worked in the industry for a good 10 years. How about we go make our own indie thing? So Josie and I were talking. We landed on drag. How did we land on drag?
We were in drag, I'm sure. Well, for us, we were kind of talking about like representation, right, in media as well, and it was at the beginning of the Pam Demi Lovato, and a lot of drag performers and clubs and bartenders and stuff, like a lot of the LGBT community suddenly, lost their jobs or lost their incomes, and we were talking about fighting games and Smash Brothers, and we're like, there are characters in movies and shows, like it's really cool to hear now that maybe Dumbledore was gay, or maybe Deadpool's Pan, but those things kind of feel built in after the fact. It's cool if it was from a core thing, but it kind of feels like it's kind of like, oh yeah, that too. And for us, it's like there's so much drag talent out there, and there's so much talent in the LGBTQ AI community at large. It's like it just feels untapped, and the world of fighting games or gaming doesn't really feel like it really has a spot yet, in that, like, that's a fighting game and LGBT and awareness, not just one random token character that happens to be bi or gay or something.
Mm-hmm.
We thought we should make these stars the stars, and then the add-on is, yes, they're drag queens or drag kings or performers or whatever their orientation or background is. We just want to make a really fun game that just happens to be drag performers, and we thought that shouldn't be so hard to make, so why not do it ourselves? So far, it's been super easy.
What? Well, since you're already working on it, do you all feel you've made the right decision?
Absolutely.
Is it too late? Is it too late to back out?
I'm assuming. I mean, you're already. I'm promoting your game for the next month, so I hope not.
This is gonna go live on the web with the
Yeah.
spiders. Okay. No, I think it's going to be a lot of work, but I think we're really excited. Like, we want to be done with this game, I think, already. Not because we're over the work, but because we're just excited to see it. And I think, for me at least, it's a big motivator to keep making it and kind of developing these characters further.
That's awesome. I 100% agree with you that the LGBT community is poorly represented everywhere. And I recently went to Combo Breaker, one of the big fighting game tournaments last month, and it was actually very it warmed my heart to see how open everyone is. Like, no one judges you at all when you're at this thing. All everyone cares about is like the game. You can be yourself. There's no stress about it. So it's nice to see everyone can openly hold hands with like their boyfriend or their girlfriend, or dress the way they want. They can be who they want, and I'm happy you guys chose to do a fighting game, because I kind of feel the fighting game community is very open to that as well.
Yeah, and what's cool is like Ian and I had gone to a GDC thing, which is like a big game developers conference, and going, I thought it would be a big testosterone fest, to tell you the truth. And it was gay as shit. I mean, it was very gay. Like, I could definitely pick out all of the, other than everybody's different orientation and titles. Everybody, like, I could tell who the art directors were, because they all had neon or pink or green or purple hair, or like some cool tie-dye shirt. And it was just a really big community of people who just loved games in general. And I thought that was really validating for what we're doing, because I felt like we were going to have to like sneak our way into this. And I didn't realize that the gaming community is so accepting, which is why it's so baffling that we don't have more of a stamp or staple already in this community. And there's a lot of amazing indie games that have come out and are coming out that have lots of representation with different genders and backgrounds and ethnicities, which we need more of in different games. And I'm so proud of that. But I was really surprised. I was really surprised that we were so welcomed, I guess, from being originally such a sheltered gay boy in my younger days, not now anymore. But it was really cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, I think it's one of those funny things with video games where like you look up to games that aren't necessarily trying to do what you're taking away from them, right? Like we joke all the time that Sindel is the original drag queen, the original fighting game drag queen. She wasn't
Diva.
intended to be, right? Like she's not written that way in the sense that I'm sure that wasn't their intention, but she is. And I think a lot of queer people in general have looked up to all different kinds of fighting game characters for any of their queer codedness, you know, or their diva behavior, or their like super cool things that they do. And I'm excited to make a game where, you know, you don't have to read into anything. Like these are queer people or members of the community. And so it's kind of like the swing backwards in terms of like looking for yourself in characters and finding bits. But this is, you know, maybe a little bit more of looking for yourself, finding yourself, and then finding cool things about yourself through those characters. Hopefully.
Oh no, 100%. I love it as well. I told Ian this beforehand. I grew up with my best friend coming out to me when he was 11, so he knew very young, and I sadly had to witness some of the persecution and the shit he had to deal with growing up, and it was so hard for him, and it was hard for me, and I had no idea how to help outside of like going to beat up the bully. You know what I mean? Like there's only so much you can do. So like I know growing up there's certain characters in video games that he just couldn't relate to, and I knew that as a kid, and it just sucks for him. And watching games now, like some of the biggest titles have it now, like the biggest games that are out there now have everything. Like you mentioned Mortal Kombat, like Melina in the last game came out that she's bisexual now. Like small little things like that make such a difference for the greater community. It's really beautiful.
Right. And like, you know, characters like Jackie Briggs, who is very clearly a supporter and member of the community, like things like that I think are lovely and wonderful. And wouldn't it be great if everyone in your game, you know, like,
Yeah.
I just think it's, you know, it's needed. And it's also not super serious. Like, I think a lot of times, a lot of the LGBTQ plus community, it's a more of a serious tone. And we're just here to show that it's fun. We can have fun. It's okay.
Yeah. And I think, like, speaking of, like you said, your friend didn't really see himself in these games and stuff. Like, I grew up and I still watch lots of cartoons. Like, cartoons have been a huge influence in my life and what I do, hence the whole art direction thing. But I didn't see myself in a lot of stuff either. Like, I mostly related to, like, female characters when I was younger, because that's just the closest I can get. Or obviously, like, Hades or Ursula for some delicious reason. But even, like, seeing cartoons now, like, there's one called Steven Universe that's amazing. And it touches on that, where two characters, Steven and Connie, do a dance, and they combine. Spoiler alert: they combine into one character, which is cool, called Stefani. And one of the main characters asks, like, "Oh, so what are you? Are you Steven or are you Connie?" And they just say, "I'm Stefani." And the character goes, "Okay," and the episode just continues. Like, you could just exist as a person with your personality, your traits, and your preference, right? And just exist as a person and have so many other things. It doesn't have to be your defining feature. You could be amazing for so many different reasons. And that's kind of what we want to showcase in this game. These queens, these actual drag kings and queens that we're putting into this game are real people. And on top of being a really fun game to play, it's kind of spread a message of like, oh, wow, these people are human too. And they have senses of humor. They're not all just horrible demons. Except me.
Okay, great. I'm very excited to play Drag Her. I have another fellow TikToker, Freddie Pow Pow. Me and him have already decided we're going to do a first to 10 like the moment the game comes out. So that's going to happen very quickly.
I'm excited.
So I got to ask, how did the team get assembled for this?
There was a bat symbol in the sky. No,
In the water.
Would it just
Yeah.
be? What is that symbol though? Was it just like?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not a bat, that's for sure.
It's a crudely drawn penis.
I was
It
gonna
was, a,
say
it was a wrist with acrylic nails and hairy knuckles.
it was an
Yes.
eggplant emoji.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all got the wrong signals.
We showed up at different meetings. It was really
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah, so I kind of touched on it before, but for me, coming to the US from New Zealand, in case you couldn't tell my accent, not
Wait a minute.
Californian.
Is
Really?
that from Ireland?
I thought it was a Brooklyn accent. Sorry.
I thought that was for sure.
He's from Boston.
Yeah.
Say car again.
But I came to the US to work specifically in the game industry, and I got to work for some pretty big studios, Warner Brothers on Shadows of Mordor, Blizzard on Hearthstone and Overwatch. And so I kind of accrued a lot of experience along the way, but AAA games are a machine. You can read any article about how it churns people out.
Hmm.
And in the background, I kind of always had the idea, like, let's make a little studio of our own one day. And just throughout life, I meet people with a lot of talent that were just underutilized. And that really, really bothers me. So, Josie's a phenomenal artist and has, like, magnificent direction and references. So I'm like, hi, would you like to be grossly underpaid to work on this project? And he said, yes.
My pleasure.
Yes. And Jessica and I knew one another, and I knew she was a phenomenal writer. So I'm like, hello, would you like to head up narrative for this game? And she
And
said,
I said
yeah.
no.
No.
I don't know how I
Yeah.
got here.
We're currently chained.
Are you
to
under
the-
duress right now,
Mhm.
Jess?
I'm blinking. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
hear you blink. I can hear you blink. You blink really
My
heavily.
cats are holding me here. I was
Uh-oh.
incredibly honored and excited.
That's a cage of your own making.
Yeah. I had some engineering friends, but they were all occupied, and Matt was actually our first hire. We were just like looking out into the world, like, hello, does anyone want to fuck around and find out with us? And for some reason, he was into it. I don't know why. Matt, why did you say yes?
Well, I remember finding the job listing on like remote game jobs, and I was kind of like, this sounds like a project I would like because of both the drag theming as well as my experience with doing indie fighting game work. So I just was like, F it, I'll apply and see what happens. I actually for a minute thought I was like, did I just have like a weird fever dream and like that job listing never existed and I just wanted it to, and then I got a email back that it was real. So that's kind of just where it went from there. Yeah, because I'm passionate about design and creating games for the genre and just experimenting with different avenues, whether that's theme or gameplay. So it just seemed like a lot. It ticked a lot of boxes, and it's a small team. I've been in the industry now for 13 years, and I have learned a lot of things of what I like and don't like. And big teams is definitely something I don't love. Like 20, 30 person teams, I'm just like, ugh. I just don't love it. So having being on something smaller, was also appealing.
Yeah, if I can touch on that real quick, like what's cool is like because we're technically starting like a small company from the ground up, right? And when you do that, even though Jess's narrative and Ian's producer, we all have to wear multiple hats to kind of make this work and kind of learn the pipeline, and we all have backgrounds in our industries, and we're kind of learning multiple different hats at the same time. So Matt and Jess and Ian have been, at least on my end, like wonderful to work with because we're all willing to try something new that we haven't tried before to kind of make the next person's job easier, and that's been really, really fun. So even though it's a small team, I think it's much bigger. It feels like there's a lot more people here, mostly because
Our big personalities.
yeah, there you go.
That's great. I would like to ask you guys some individual questions, if that's okay.
No.
All right, I'll
Thanks,
talk
man.
to you guys later. All right, so Ian, we'll start with you. What are some of the challenges you've faced so far creating this game?
There's been multiple. I don't feel like there's any internal struggles that are like huge. It's more selling this game to the world. So for us, this game makes sense. There's a lot of mashup fighting games that are out right now. We started before they started announcing themselves. God damn it!
How
But-
dare you?
Yeah, how dare they? Please unrelease your game. But for us, when we were pitching this game to publishers in the early days, there was a lot of there was a mixed response. So some of it was very illuminating. Uh, so some publishers were like, "We don't know how to make fighting games sell well, so we're going to pass on this." I'm like, "Okay." I didn't know that fighting games are a risky bet for publishers.
Mm-hmm.
We had a Polish developer, as a Polish publisher, who was just like, "Gay people don't play video games." I'm like, "Oh, okay, interesting," and I have to nod and smile through that conversation along with Josie. So we got that really bizarre pushback.
That's definitely not true. Like
Very interesting.
Oh,
Like
that kind of gives me a headache
weird.
just hearing that.
yeah, but sort of, we put together a phenomenal demo. I'm so proud of my team, and sending that out into the world and getting feedback on that, it's really positive. But I want someone to hurry up and sign on the dotted line and give us the money so I can grow the team. I'm feeling very brazen these days. I'm like, "Hello, it's Pride Month. Where's our Pride dollars?" But some organizations have already stepped up. We've got AT&T, who has ponied up a significant win. We got 100K from a pitch competition that Jess headed up for Women in Games. Yeah, Jess.
Go girls.
Yeah, we've also the IGDA gave us a significant amount of funding through their diversity grants program. There's a charity called Queerty Games, and they were our first donors. And so we're stapling together kind of all of this income along the way. There's more that I don't think I haven't signed yet, so I can't announce it.
Oh,
So for us,
don't
it's
do that
kind
to
of
me.
just getting, yeah, it's trying to,
We're
It's
still looking
like-
for more. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah. yeah, we're trying to get the money together to make this game as polished and as nice as it can possibly be.
Mhm.
I believe very strongly in paying people their worth. So it's not like I've got everyone together to work for $0. It's like, no, this needs to be a job, or else we need to be doing other things.
Yeah, and I guess that's why we named our studio Fighting Chance Games, because we want you, why is it so difficult to work at a good work environment and do good work and get paid well? Why can't those three things exist at the same time? It shouldn't be that hard to come across. So we're just we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah. So that's the challenges. Any questions?
I guess I do have a few. My first one is I immediately was gonna think you're gonna have more issues with just general game design, but you went on the other side of business side, which is awesome.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's fine.
Producers.
I guess, is there other challenges you face in that aspect as well, or are you just strictly business side?
So it's strange. We're an indie team, so we do multiple roles. I've lapsed into the business side. But no, I don't feel when I see it early on, I don't feel like there's internal struggles. The team is really willing and open to change with the flow. If I'm hey, we're using this productivity tool nowadays, we use Notion to track our work, team gets on board.
It's our
Other
fourth one.
people, yeah, other people would have to speak to other struggles. I feel like time is a big one as well. I overwork Josie.
I deserve it.
Yeah.
I would say, struggles on my end. So there, as the art director or lead, right? There's many ways to consume a game, right? And the first one that hits you is visual, right? If you visually like the cover of it or the GIF that you saw online, then you'll take a look at it. Then you'll find out the story or the sound or what queens and kings are actually in it. So there's definitely pressure on art. But for me, it's like the magic. Like we don't understand, which is why we started doing this. Like we don't understand why usually a game will have amazing artwork or designs, but the stories very lacking or simple. Or if they make a really funny, hilarious story because of budgeting, these big AAA studios will make really simple like flash art. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but they'll always balance it out by making really simple art. And it's like, why can't we have beautiful performers, have some really fun cinematics, make it hilarious and have a sense of humor, and bring awareness to the community by promoting these kings and queens and musicians that go in the background and other things that we collaborate with. Like, why can't we just do all of it at once? So the challenge is putting all that positivity and good ideas in one place, and we're finding places for it as we go along. But it is a lot to do, but we're just kind of taking one day at a time. But the biggest ask would be, yeah, we wish there was more time.
Definitely understand that. Did you have struggles getting the queens to agree to use their likenesses at all?
Yeah, that we ended up doing an extended period of casting from about September last year through to January of this year. So we initially floated it with some local queens that we thought were a real fit, and that kicked off conversations with their managers. So most queens reverted back to their managers because that's how they best get represented in this world, right?
Okay.
The team also made like a wish list of queens that would like to approach, and so I just ran down that list and approached a bunch. But the queens were a lot of the queens who got it. So the ones who had experience playing video games themselves are just like immediate yeses, like trying to make it happen however they could. Like one of our biggest grabs, I feel, is Alaska 5000. He was just like, yeah, let's do this. Like, I'll tell my managers to make it happen. So there was a little bit of struggle because it was long and negotiations took a while and contracts had to be going backwards and forwards. But no, I'd say like most queens were just in it to win it.
Do you want to announce some of the people we have in it, Ian?
Sure. Yeah, we've got Alaska 5000, Ben de la Creme, I think, Manila Luzon,
Kimchi.
Kimchi, yes.
Asia O'Hara.
Asia O'Hara.
Landon Sider, who's a drag king who is amazing as a performer as well.
Phenomenal.
We're excited to show that diversity too.
Yeah.
Laganja.
Laganja, yes.
Tammy Brown and Jiggly Caliente and Manila Luzon. I think you said her too.
Yeah. I'm going to forget. Someone is going to be forgotten in the mix, but yeah. A lot of really, really high profile, really cool queens and kings that we've signed.
Is there any that you can't tell me yet that you guys have under wraps?
We've got one spot reserved for a certain someone, but nothing I can say yet.
Okay, I won't push. Fine. All right, let's move on to our next question, and this is going to be for Jess. You are the narrative. Is there going to be a story? If so, will it be based on fiction or real events? And if they are real events, please tell me what it was.
There is going to be a story. We are going to do, we're going to have an arcade mode where you're going to get to live a story through whichever character. We were discussing the narrative direction recently, and one of the ideas is it can either be grounded in reality or it can be grounded in kind of unreality. Real words. I'm making up real words over here.
No, I like the reality.
Thank you. So, one of the expectations for like maybe a reality thing is you're a drag performer who works their way up, right? Through different venues and finally gets to a worldwide tour, something like that. But that doesn't make sense for these characters we have. All of our performers are incredible stars in their own right. They've done incredible things. So it didn't make sense for us to do something sort of that grounded in reality. Right now, I will say I think the team is leaning more towards, I'm going to call it stupid, but what I mean is just like a silly, like one of the things I think we discussed last week, which is probably not the plot, but is like, aliens come from outer space and are looking for the best drag performer, and so these performers must fight to decide who goes on to rule a galaxy. You know,
So
things
something
like that.
definitely more whimsical is what you're saying. Okay.
Yes, a little bit more on the fantasy side, just because I think that's so much more fun. I loved Clay Fighter growing up. That's like one of the big inspirations I try to bring to this silly game.
That puts such a smile to my face right now.
It's
It makes me
like
so
when
happy.
when people get Clay Fighter references, they're like, yes, I love it, I'm here for it. And I think like a meteor coming down and imbuing a circus people like with powers, I'm like, that's kind of the vibe I want. But we are gonna have a narrative. It is going to be fleshed out. I just can't tell you exactly what it is yet.
I want to experience it
Working
real hand, so don't worry.
Yeah.
Um, Is there anything, any like life experiences you've had that you might be putting into the game by chance?
I have lived a real wacky life.
So
it's
yes?
very odd. Yes,
Okay.
I worked in a crime lab and then I joined the circus. I do immersive theater acting. I play a lot of monsters. So I am trying to make the game just as weird as the team will let me, and do as many odd, uncomfortable things as I can get away with.
Yeah, more like less Cabbage Patch Kids and more Garbage Pail Kids.
There's a throwback. Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah.
Hey, man. That's awesome. I'm really excited to see what the story is. But I'm also really big into like experience the story while I play the game. Anyone that just goes and watches a YouTube video to see the story of something makes me so angry. You have to experience it. So
Yeah, it's nice. And I think, not to talk about it again, but Mortal Kombat is obviously one of the
God.
Listen, Josie. They're one of the dominators in terms of story and game coalescing. Obviously they have the money, they have the name behind it, of course. But my partner isn't really a fighting game person, and they played Mortal Kombat, and they're like, yeah, okay, the fighting game is part, but they got to play the narrative part, and he was really like, oh, I really like this story. This is really interesting. So I do think that story can bring people a deeper understanding of your fighting game in general, and also an appreciation for what you're trying to show them, teach them, etc. So I want to make sure that our story is not lacking in any realm.
I know that's a huge argument over the last year, especially with, as Josie said, did you say the delicious? What did you?
Well,
He said Pandemi Lovato.
There we go. There was the Pandemic Lovato.
and anymore.
We've had a struggle within the community because fighting games are kind of hard to do offline, online. And not being able to see each other and play is a bit of a difficult. Is there going to be some other things you're looking at outside of just a story for single player stuff?
Ooh, how much of this can I say?
If I could just point out one thing that you said about story, Jess, the really cool thing that a lot of games don't have that we do is that our characters are based on real people. So along with the storyline comes some fun, interactable conversations where they'll have, exclusively with each other. And some of these kings and queens have, previous backstories because of the shows they've been on or social media. So there's going to be lots of nods towards things that they've done or will do or interactions with each other that makes it more of a personal experience too if you follow these kings and queens. And if you don't, it'll still have a fun storyline to it too, but it's an extra kind of benefit that we get to throw on this cake.
Is there like beef between any of them?
There's vegetarian beef, I would say.
Beyond meat.
Yeah, there's some impossible meat.
I love that.
Well, there are interesting dynamics. So one of the queens, not necessarily beef, but Alaska, for example, knows almost everyone on a team and has worked with them multiple times. So there's opportunities to really lean into personal relationships, and of course our understanding of a personal relationship. So whereas if you're playing a game and two players, let's say in Injustice, Superman and Batman are going to fight, and they have a interaction because they have a history together. Well, our characters also have histories together, except they're rooted in reality. And so we get to play with those relationships, and that's really fun, especially for me because I just get to dive in and do just really weird deep dives of these characters and how they would interact with each other, which is pretty fun.
Are you like actually speaking with some of these real life queens to like possibly get more of an understanding how they would react in certain situations, or?
Some of them, the ones who are more interested, I think, in their characterizations. Like I know Bendela Creme is a little bit more interested in like the process and the output and what we get to do. So that's exciting because we'll get to have her a little bit more involved. But some of them are just like, you know, whatever, do whatever. Like I trust you, which is insane. They gave us way too much power, and I cannot wait to abuse it.
Oh, I'm sure they don't want to hear that.
No, don't tell them I said that.
Okay, I won't.
Put this on the internet.
I've
Yes,
watched
private.
some of the gameplay already, and so for Matt, you are working on other games as well. I don't know if anyone knows, it's called Murfight.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. What are some differences between working on Drag Her and some of the other games you've worked on?
Well, for one, the other games I've worked on tend to be more solo endeavors, usually just me. So that's one difference. I'm working with other talented people that will hopefully make and improve the game overall. But Drag Her is definitely more of a simple game, I'd say inherently. We definitely are going for quote unquote modern controls if we want to play the Street Fighter 6 vernacular.
Yep.
But we're going for something a little more simple because we don't want to slow down the like process of getting people to play. So that's one difference for sure. Like, this game has a block button, for example. For now, like a lot of the stuff is we're still working. We're trying to make the game close to the demo that we already have. But obviously, as we play test and get player feedback, things can always change and are in flux, as is the world of game development. So I'd say that's like probably the biggest difference is sort of the sort of simplicity approach that we're going for. Another one that this is sort of a not secret feature, but we're trying to do some type of 4-player mode, not like Street Fighter Cross Tekken's scramble mode, but like we want something so that if you are playing this game in a party atmosphere or with multiple people, instead of just 1v1 all the time, so people are just like waiting for the match to be over for someone else to play, we're trying to figure out some way to like, how can we get more people playing at once? So that's another thing that's a little different than other stuff I've worked on. That, of course, is very early stages, and that may just get scrapped. We may play it and be like, this is trash, and throw it out, but it's something I at least want to try. Because though the theme of drag is very novel in the genre, I want to do something that not a lot of other games are doing. Like, it's very hard to be like, our game's 100% unique. It's like, it's a fighting game right off the bat. There's going to be stuff from other games in there. But we want to try to say like, here's the thing that our game does very differently from everybody else. So that's sort of one that I'm investigating.
So you could have the new big thing that all the other big companies are going to steal from you?
Well, everybody's been stealing lenient and simple inputs, and I've been talking about that since 2016. I was discourse for like an hour after I wrote an article about it, and I kind of just rolled my eyes because nobody read the article properly. Because it wasn't that we need simple inputs, it was that we just need to teach the complex inputs better.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone just was like, they want to get rid of inputs, and I'm like, I am a small indie dev in Pittsburgh, PA. Like, there's if you think I'm swaying Capcom's decisions, you gotta rethink things.
I played it back when a quarter used to cost a nickel.
Back when
In 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I don't even think you can
Been down
buy
a
something for a quarter anymore. Or a nickel. Okay, so when it comes to the differences between like Drag Her and like say Murfight, we'll use Murfight as an example. You said it's a little more simpler. Are you putting your own like or your own matrified like style on it as well?
Not 100%. I don't want to do it too much like one of my own games, because that's, that's already out there, so like why remake that again?
Mm-hmm.
So we're not gonna have like dash canceling like Murfight does, for example. Things like that I'm probably not gonna do, but there are gonna be some like my overall thing is like if you think something should works, it should, and I definitely want to try to do that, and minimize like the amount of like why does this cancel into that but not this canceling into that, and like reduce that sort of questioning and thinking of just like, yeah, if you think it works, it's gonna probably work. And of course, there's a lot of balancing and challenges with that for sure. But that's something I like to do in a lot of my games because it's easier to develop without having to have all these weird exceptions and rules for like why does this cancel into that and not this. But then I think it's also for players, they don't have to like learn a bunch of extra things and like nuance. It's just sort of like, yeah, these moves cancel into this regardless, and that's fine, and kind of go from there.
Okay. May I move back a little bit and ask why you went with the choice for the block button?
For me, it was I was looking at similar games, and I believe I don't know the whole title. I don't even know if the game actually does have a block button now that I'm thinking about it. But that SNK Heroines Princess game, Tag Fighter, I forget the whole name. Tag Team Frenzy, whatever. I was looking at that for inspiration because I was like, similar audience, probably similar like skill level for like the intro, but then that game I think can get pretty deep. Like one thing I know, that game I think has a guard button if I remember. I think it doesn't have crouching though. There's something in that game lacking that I was like, no, we need to have this because like if you have a guard button, you need at least high-low mix-up. You can't have a guard button, but then like not any kind of mix-up. So I was just like, I don't really know how to do that without crouching. So that was, and also I think because I want something that like people on our team can enjoy, and even though I know she doesn't block a ton, as a Mortal Kombat fan, I know Jess like understands like that, and I think she can give input if I make the overall game closer to something that members of the team are used to and playing, then it's easier to have certain conversations and we can all enjoy it more. Because even though like as developers you're making a game for an audience, and this is kind of debated in developer circles, like I think it's more enjoyable when members of the team like at least don't hate playing what they're making. Like maybe they don't have to be like, this is the best thing I've ever played. But they can't. I think I've worked on projects before, and I probably shouldn't say that. Like I'd be like, ugh, I really hated working on this. I didn't enjoy playing it even, and that's really hard. So I want to try to do as much as I can to make sure that the four of us at least like playing it. So that's one reason I decided to go for the guard button. I think there's a lot of interesting things you can do with it too that not a lot of that I haven't seen a lot of. And again, it's just trying things out and seeing how it goes. Like if we get a thing, I could see a world too where like we get a publisher who's like, you gotta get rid of the guard button. It'd be like, all right, it's gone. But like overall, it's just something that I want to try. I think the team likes and wants to try for. But again, with play testing, it may show that like everyone hates the guard button to a point where it's like toxic. So it's like, okay, fine, we got to go back to like Street Fighter blocking style. But for now, I think that was the main inspiration for the block button, both that SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy game and Mortal Kombat.
Okay. I know it's a very hot topic amongst the community, so I was just curious. So, like, what your your thought process on there. And speaking of hot topic, we're gonna go over to Josie here. Now, my question is: you are the artist. What are some of the art? What is your inspiration for the art style you're using, and why did you choose that style for Drag Her?
Gay stuff. Can I just say gay stuff? No.
If you want that to be it.
Right. No, it's way worse. I'm gonna have to say it's like the drag performers themselves. Like every time they perform, whether it's on a TV show or at a local bar, or it's just your cousin dressing up, not telling their parents. It's such a magic, like creating another character and the personality behind it and the looks specifically. To me, it's just magic. It's complete transformation and expressing yourself in not just on a canvas or on a piece of paper or a sculpture. It's like living art. And then that combined with fighting games, the styles were I'm kind of trying to merge many different audiences, right? Because what's weird is like normally you would want to go with you know your audience specific. Like, oh, we're going for the fighting game community, or the gay community, or the LGBT, or whoever, or the chicken or the blue community. But we're trying to merge two worlds at the same time. So maybe some people of the LGBTQIA community don't play fighting games, and maybe some fighting gay enthusiasts don't really have, a gay best friend or a lesbian aunt or something. So we're trying to please both of those while giving proper representation, while making a really, really fun game, like I said earlier. But style-wise, some of the influences that I kind of want to merge into there is obviously references to, original fighting games that we love, like Myrtle Combat. I don't know how to say it. But also like the styles of like comic books and anime and Disney influence and Batman, the animated series from the 90s, and like fashion sketches. Like you can't really compare one drag performer to the other, because just two different outfits are completely different planets apart, right? So trying to merge that into one game could be difficult, but I'm kind of taking each king and queen as their own little celestial body, to just express as much of them as we can in their personality, in their moves, and in their outfits, and then bring them together just to make a crazy, insane looking game that hurts your eyes to look at, but in a loving, nurturing, and caring way.
You mentioned every single queen's gonna have their own style. Will every queen have multiple outfits?
We're working on that, but yeah. So ideally, because everything, I mean, if gender is fluid, so can outfits, right? The ideal is to have multiple outfits, because kind of the fun of doing drag is many different looks. A lot of these queens look completely different with a pink wig than with a yellow wig. And we want to add that versatility, so each player, even though you're playing as Kimchi, you can still feel you stamped your personality on there because you like the pink outfit with this specific makeup or this specific outfit. So we're working on that currently. The goal would be yes, with the plan to add DLC later on. But that's kind of like the pipeline we're working out now. But ideally, yes, they'll have multiple outfits. Hopefully, probably not the first version, but as we add on to the game. And we kind of figure out this pipeline easier, then they will have multiple looks, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm. Could you walk me through an example of the day of drawing a new character? How do you start from day one to when it's finished?
Well, sure. We have a 7-hour talk. So yeah, for sure. So for me, I have ADHD, LGBT, XYZ, L1OP, all the letters. So I'm a very visual person, which is why I do art. So for me, it's kind of splattering all of my screens and computers and putting cartoons in the background, going to Pinterest and making a whole extended folder of, random anime characters and cute Disney stuff, and just completely engulfing myself in pictures of the drag king or queen, cartoons that I think influence them, the pillars of their personalities. So if one personality, I'm not going to say who, but if a lot of their looks are food based or kawaii based, or if they move like glass across the stage because they're scared to fall and shatter into a million pieces, those are pillars of these performers. So we kind of get what their core essence is, or the movie Inside Out says, your core memories, the core of this character, and kind of build the looks and the moves based around those. So the moves won't be while I hear Sub-Zero is cool, he's just all ice. That's a read for you, Jessica.
Rude.
But unmute, rude. But with these kings and queens, there's so many different looks that they've given us, and so many different performances given us. It's really, we think it would be in their detriment to just make them one thing. So we're trying to sneak in lots of little nods to their personalities while still giving them a certain fighting style or archetype. But still very personal to who they are, while making them a really fun, interesting character to people in the fighting game community who have never heard of any of these performers. They just know it's a really fun character, and then to learn that they're real people and then look up their performances after would just be here's a cake, but now there's frosting and icing and delicious, another donut on top. It's a very Instagrammable cake is what we're trying to make here.
That's awesome. Thank you for going through the process. It did not take 7 hours, by the way. So
fair enough. I can't tell time either.
He's going to talk to us for 6 more hours. He's going to get off this call and then continue telling us.
Yeah, okay.
So true.
If you can record that for me, I'll add that on to the podcast. So, as of right now, do you have a tentative release?
We do.
Yes.
So, it's still based on our original Kickstarter timeline. We're looking at Q1 of 2024.
Okay.
That means, yeah, very early 2024. Beta,
That-
we're aiming to release about 6 months prior to that, and that's going to be available to people who backed us on Kickstarter and maybe a select few FCG content creators. Cough, Phil.
I promise I will help. I'm very excited for that. I will say that. Speaking of that note, what or how can I help you guys get people to you? Or what can I do, or the people listening, help support Drag Her?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, right now we're just pointing everyone to our Discord. You can find the link on our website at dragher.game. We're also on every social media at dragher_the_game. That's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, not Facebook. Who's on Facebook these days? Get out of here.
Tag Hash Brown.
I only have it now to use my VR headset. That's the only reason I have Facebook still. If I didn't need it to log into the metaverse, I would not have it any longer.
Come on, Meta.
I have it to remember birthdays, so I'm with
That's
you.
a good reason to have it.
Mm-hmm.
I use it to remember birthdays, but only on the day of the birthday when I see all the birthday pictures. So I'm like lightly late, but still, it works.
I'm pretty sure I had one like a month ago that was like the day after, and I still wish them a happy birthday. And I'm like, oh, that was yesterday.
You want to hear something surprisingly worse? If you Google search your name and your MySpace, it's probably still up. Feel free. Take a minute.
I'd
What-
rather
what
not.
does-
I was super cringy back then. Like,
Come on.
I mean,
emo
all
day.
of us were super cringy like a couple decades ago. So, but just so everyone should go follow your Discord, right? Is there and will you have another option for fundraising for the game at any point, where people
I
can
think we're-
jump in?
I'll have to explore that. I did have a quick look, but right now we're just focusing on trying to get private funds to make this happen, and then sort of opening it up to the world after then. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. I guess the final question, which I want all of you to answer in your own way, what does Drag Her mean to you?
Oh. Oh. What does Drag Her mean to me? So, Drag Her is an opportunity for all of my very good friends to work on something amazing. I really, really, really do love the team that we've assembled. Not just the four of us here, but we've got Michelle on audio. My partner Jay helps us with finances. There's so many talented contractors we've brought on. Leanne, Alyssa, Ricky. Yeah, there's so many cool people on this, and I just want to create an environment that their creative work can be supported in.
Okay.
Aww.
How about you,
We
Jess?
fooled them. You fooled them.
I think for me, it's sort of it's a safe space, and not in the traditional way of, I mean, it is, like you can share hard things with this game, but I think it's just a safe place to be however you want to be in whatever way. And hopefully you get to play a game where you see some reflection of that desired safety, right? You can log into our game and see silly jokes, but also sensitivity to things that maybe games aren't normally sensitive to. And just, not feel are we allowed to curse? Am I allowed to say
Of course.
I say
Pee-pee.
shit?
You can say whatever you want.
Just not feel shit on, I think, is hopefully what we're going for. So just kind of a nice, safe place to be yourself and be a little silly and stupid, and a reminder that the world can be fun if you let it be.
Fantastic. Matt, how about you?
For me, like a lot of what Ian stole a lot of what I was thinking of saying, but definitely an opportunity for me to, a lot of my fighting game work has been like outside of my full-time job, so it's another avenue for me to explore the genre and developing a game in it, with a different theme, with a team, and to make something that, I've always felt that, like, again, there always needs to be something a little different to every game. Otherwise, it's just, you're just rehashing the same stuff over and over. So Drag Her for me is an opportunity to explore a fighting game, not only thematically that's very different, but then just play around with things for gameplay wise and just try to make something different.
Wait, we're making a game? We're making a video game?
No, we're writing a book.
I can't read none, dog.
Well, you're just doing the cover.
Yeah, you're not
Oh, cool.
writing it.
Cool. That's all I got work. Thank God.
I'm also working on my memoir. It's called Drag Me, the making of Drag Her.
The confusion of Josie.
Well, speaking of you, Josie, for you as well, what do we have for an answer for what does Drag Her mean to you?
Well, I paid somebody on Fiverr to answer this for me. Let me get it pulled up. Perfect. Got it. No, for me, I think it's the main thing it is for me, and especially, I guess, because my ADD definitely taps into this, but it's all of the opportunity that it kind of opens up. Since these are real king and queen performers, like, there's so many aspects to a game that we don't really think about. You just kind of get the game and you play it, but, like, there's music in the background, there's characters kind of doing looping gifs in the background, there's buildings in the background. So we think there's so many opportunities to bring the LGBTQIA, LMNOP, all of the community into this game itself, but not only gay people, but also our allies. Because when I was in high school, I was the president of the Gay and Straight Alliance Club. I sold Skittles. Support the rainbow and eat it too. I couldn't have gotten this far without my allies supporting me along the way. So this game is kind of like a thank you and a throne and a crown and a shiny spot for the community and for our allies. And there's so many opportunities to include them, whether it's as a actual playable character, whether it's an assist character, whether it's a background character, whether it's a business in the background that just needs representation. There's so many opportunities. I mean, the music in the background could be by another person who is in the community. Mini games, if possible. Ian. There's so many opportunities that this will create, and we want to give jobs and put money in the pockets of this community, and you do it by creating jobs and including those people and bringing that representation to them. So I'm really excited about all the opportunities that this is bringing, not only in creating it, but then possibly with the DLC and the add-ons and the gaming community getting involved later on. There's so many more opportunities that will come from it. So I'm really excited for that.
I'm excited for the game as well. I do have one final question for you guys, and this is how we're going to finish it up today, is you all four have to do a little mini tournament in Drag Her. Who's winning?
Matt.
Can we block?
Can you block?
It's gotta be
Yeah. Matt's gonna hack it for sure. He's gonna make our controllers not work. I can never get my controller to work anyways.
You all play on Max, which is like problem number one.
I play
No.
on a PC, thank
Sounds
you.
like-
Oh,
I'm
okay. Sorry.
I'm just bad. I'm just
Okay.
bad, Matt. Actually, I'm secretly really good.
So if we had to go from like first, second, third, and fourth, where's everyone going to be?
Ooh.
Is everyone saying Matt's going to be number one? Is going to win it?
Matt-
I would say, honestly, Matt or Sleeper Cell Jess. I think Matt or Jess.
Yeah, I think
Who's
I'm
number
coming
one?
number 2, depending on Matt's mood that day.
And if you ate beans, yeah, number
Yeah.
2 for sure.
I
Oh
would,
my God.
I would say I could beat Josie. I feel comfortable in third.
I mean, most people want to beat me. I think I would come in fourth, but happily, I'm just happy to be part of the experience because I'll just
Yeah.
slice all your tires after. So I don't care. You can win. That's fine.
You're
I'll get mine.
not near us.
I got friends on the internet.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. Matt first, me second, Ian third, Josie somewhere else.
Somewhere in the bottom.
Josie DQs himself before the tourney starts.
Yeah,
I'm downstairs making myself a sandwich. I'm just idling the whole time.
he's eating cheese.
Ooh, oh, cheese. I need cheese. Sorry, we're in a meeting.
The closer we get to the release date, you have to do this now. The team has to have a tournament together, and you should stream it. I would watch that frame one. That would be awesome to experience that. Um,
I think one of the things we're really excited about is getting to play these characters too, because we get to think of them, and then it's also going to be so fun to figure out like who is your main, right? Like you think you know, but once you play them, it's so different. So I'm really excited to see how they play.
And we will have to play each other because the game's going to have rollback, so we're going to have to test that with each other. And it's a good
I
test
believe it-
because
I believe
I'm
it's
East
back roll
Coast
netcode.
and they're West Coast. Oh yeah, back roll netcode.
Thank you.
And it's going to be cross country test because where the team is remotely set up.
Mhm.
So that will be important to test.
I'm happy that you're going with rollback netcode. I can tell you that, or putting in the effort to have better netcode. Over the last couple years, it's been rough, very rough to be a fighting.
And
game
even
fan.
I think Matt worked that out for the demo, so the demo even has the rollback netcode, so people were able to play all over the place, which was really awesome.
That does.
That's beautiful.
Got, got good results from like the Philippines and Thailand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was amazing.
Wow, all the way in the Philippines as well.
Hmm.
Wow,
My people.
that's good stuff.
I let them win. I was like, "You're so good. Send me some food. I'm so hungry. Give me cheese. Everyone is cheese."
Okay.
On
Well,
that note,
we've been going at it for an hour. I have to say thank you so much for all of you sitting down with me and let me hear your story about Drag Her. I'm so excited for your game. And before I get out of here individually, do you guys want to say anything to your fans or anyone else out there?
hi, Mom. Just kidding.
If that's what you want to say, Jess, go for it.
No. I think just gratitude. Like, you know, somebody asked me recently if we've like encountered any negativity in terms of like community stuff for our game, but honestly, I really haven't. Like, the people who support the game and who are interested in the game are just lovely and wonderful and like want it so passionately that it just, I think, amplifies how excited we are to bring it to everybody.
Yeah, same. I'm excited for everyone to see it. I'm excited for the kings and queens to actually play their characters live on some sort of streaming service. Is going to be really, really exciting. And like I said, we're not feeling. I mean, we're feeling the pressure. But we're not feeling the pressure to finish the game, but we're just excited to play it as everyone else is. So, just kind of follow our journey. It's going to be a fun, crazy journey that changes along the way. But we're going to come up with some cool shit, and you're going to have to play it. You fools!